Welcome to the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show, a real estate investment program. Listen and learn how to use real estate to build wealth and passive income streams for you and your family. We bring you experts every day to discuss and answer your questions on everything from single-family homes all the way up to 600-plus unit apartment complexes. And now, the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show.
Welcome to the show. My name is Al Gordon, and as always, we're working on your financial freedom. Happy New Year. Yeah, it feels good to say that. It really does. It feels really good to say Happy New Year because we made it through 2020. You know, a year ago today, we were excited that 2020 was coming in. We thought that, all these great things were going to happen for us and for our families and for our friends. And we were looking forward to a prosperous year. And then the bombshell hit us, right? You know exactly what I'm talking about. I'm talking about that pandemic. I'm talking about COVID-19. And when it hit hard. I mean, it hit harder than an NFL linebacker who made the all-pro team. That's a pretty hard hit. And some of you felt it extremely hard. And I completely understand that. I know that every one of us was affected in some way or another by COVID-19. So as we get into 2021, I think a lot of us are still a little shell-shocked at what occurred last year because none of us saw it coming. I mean, did you pick up the newspaper? I don't even know if they make newspapers anymore. But did you read in the news in January of last year that coming in March, pandemic to America? Now, you didn't read anything about that. You maybe saw some stories, some tidbits here and there that were sprinkled throughout the news, but you probably didn't pay any attention to them. Trust me, neither did I. And then all of a sudden, you were probably watching the news or reading your favorite news source, and you saw that America was getting ready to go into lockdown. And that lockdown had a significant effect on all of us. I mean, a lot of us were damaged in many ways by COVID-19. And if you're one of those people that lost a job or became ill or, had a negative effect occur to you and your livelihood, I'm just glad that you're back with us. I really am. And I am thankful for your presence. So what I'm going to talk about today is be honest with you, I'm going to talk a little bit about New Year's resolutions because I don't know about you, but I made a couple. Yeah, I know. Last year I did a show on New Year's resolutions and I said, okay, they're probably going to fail. And what did I do? Well, I didn't take my own advice. I just said, you know what? I'm going to make a couple of resolutions. I made some very small resolutions, very small goals that I set for myself in 2021 that are designed to keep my life on track. See, I think that planning is a very important component to your future livelihood. One of the things that Benjamin Franklin is attributed to having said is this phrase. He said, if you fail to plan, you are planning to fail. When you sit back and you think about that phrase, let's break that phrase down a little bit. If you fail to plan, what happens to you? Well, if you don't have a plan, you just kind of go about your life willy-nilly, doing whatever comes along, whatever floats your boat. You're kind of wandering aimlessly through life. You have no direction. You have no purpose. You have no thought process that assists you with getting to where you're trying to get to. And the second part of that phrase is you're planning to fail because you're not engaged in the things that are necessary for you to be engaged in. So you need to take a step back and you need to think about what is it you hope to accomplish in 2021? Now, I know the whole political world is all upside down and sideways, and you've got the left beating up on the right. You've got the right counterpunching to the left. And there's like just this massive war going on in the halls of Congress. You and I can't fix that. We can't change what's going on in our government. What's going to happen is going to happen. It's just the way it is. Whether you agree with it, whether you disagree with it, you cannot change it any more than I have the ability to change it. So what you really need to do is you need to look at those things that you can affect change in. And some of the things that come to my mind are things like your personal life, the health of your family. What are you going to do for retirement? What are the components that you think are important to achieve in your life, in your lifetime? I think that there are 7 elements that you actually have some control over. I really do. And those elements are spirituality, your legacy, your family. Well, some control over your family, your personal growth, your health, to the extent you can control your health, your wealth, to the extent you can control your wealth. And of course, the big one for me, having fun. When we come back from the break, I'm going to put all this into perspective, so stick around. You're going to want to hear this.
Welcome back to the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show. It's time to turn up the volume and fine-tune your passive income plan so you can create the lifestyle you've always wanted.
Welcome back to the show. And a happy new year to you, by the way. You know, you made it. You did. You made it to 2021. Now, your work isn't done. It isn't done. And I hate to bust your bubble, but a lot of that baggage from 2020, it came with us. It absolutely came with us. And for you to work your way through 2021, what I'm going to suggest you do is some deliberate planning. Now, some of you are thinking, wow, planning, what is that? How do you do it? How do you formulate a plan? Well, to be honest with you, that's a great question. And the answer is simply this. Sit down in some quiet place, or if you're like my college roommate, in a very noisy place with a lot of music going on, because that's how he studied. I couldn't handle that. I had to go to the library. But what I want you to do is I want you to sit down and think about what's important to you. Yeah, it's really that easy. Now, to give you some additional guidelines, because I also understand that, you know, when I say, hey, what's important to you, that could be anything under the sun. It really could. And there's differing variables with regards to the level of importance, and you know where I'm going. So one of the things I think is important for you to do is to create a framework and to identify within that framework the things that are important to you. And to get you started, in the last segment, what I did was I gave you some thoughts with regards to what I think are important elements, or should be important elements, in your life. I mean, these are important elements in my life, and these are things that I take into consideration when I'm working on my future. Because what I don't do anymore with my real estate investing is I don't go haphazard into it. You see, back in the day, real estate was just kind of a secondary thought to me. It was. My primary focus was, well, I was in the military. I was an officer in the Army, and my primary focus was to do the business of the Army, to prepare myself and my soldiers and my units to be prepared to go execute their mission when called upon. And that is an important thing. And to do that, you have to do a lot of detailed planning. So with regards to planning from my background, I was very, very focused, and I completely understood the military planning process. And I put it into play, absolutely put it into play. As a matter of fact, everything that you do in the military is related to understanding what your plans and objectives are, and then making necessary tweaks along the way to refine those plans based on where you think you need to be in the future. I know I'm going down a rabbit hole. Let me pull back out. But my point was this. When I first started investing in real estate, I treated it as a secondary thing. I thought, hey, you just go out and you buy a house, right? You buy the house, you put a resident in the house, the resident pays you, everything's good to go, you make the mortgage payment, yada, yada, yada. And I really didn't give my real estate investing the same level of attention that I gave my military planning. And you know what? It shot me in the foot. It did. It shot me in the foot. Because it's kind of like if you have a kid and you don't pay much attention to that kid, and then you wonder why you have behavioral problems because you're not focused on that child. I mean, that's kind of where I'm going. So when I sit down and I look at my real estate investing, and I do this periodically throughout the year, there are 7 things that I look at specifically that I address with regards to what I plan to do in the upcoming year along the lines of investing in real estate. And let me just give you those 7 things again. The first one is spirituality. Now, I'm not telling you have to run out and, join a religion or anything like that. I think you need to figure out what spirituality means to you. And I think you have to understand that spirituality has a place in not only who you are, but in the things that are important to you. I think you need to look at your legacy. I think you need to take a hard look and determine what is it you will leave behind, because we're not designed to be here forever. And although medical science is doing its darndest to try and extend our lifespans, we're not going to be here permanently. So what are you going to leave behind? And to whom or to what will you leave what is left behind to? You got to think about that. And along that lines, with regards to your retirement and the retirement plan that you're following, how does that transfer on after you're gone? Or does it? Or does the government get it? You need to think about things like that. I think you need to look very, very closely at your family, the people that you love, the people that you care about. What are you going to do going forward that will have an impact on their lives, both now and in the future? Something you need to take into consideration. Now, how about growth? I mean, are you planning to get better in something? Are you planning to do something a little bit differently? Are you going to grow as an individual? And if so, what does that growth look like? And how does that factor into the overall concept? I know, it's interesting stuff, huh? I think health is very important, too. In America, we have a tendency to take our health for granted. We do. And then when a health issue hits us, it hits us hard. I mean, really hard. I've had cancer twice. And I'll tell you what, that was a gut check for me. Not only was it a gut check for me, it reminded me that I'm not invincible. Hey, we're going to break. When we come back, I'm going to get into the concept of wealth And I'm going to talk a little bit about having fun. Stick around.
Del Walmsley talks about understanding the system.
Guy told me the other day on the radio, he says, I understand the system. They let the stock market go up to feed our ego to think we're getting somewhere, and then they crash it on us and take it all away. So now we're stuck. He says, I've lived through 2 of those cycles, so he started investing in real estate to get away from the cycle.
Are you ready to break the cycle? Start investing in real estate today. Find out how. Join Lifestyles Unlimited. Start with our live online free workshop. Register at lifestylesunlimitedworkshop.com.
We're back with the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show. We're here to answer your questions and help you become financially free.
Welcome back to the show. So if you're just joining us, what I'm talking about is a concept of planning and the fact that you need to have a deliberate plan going forward in 2021. Because without a deliberate plan, you are not focused. You don't have your goals. You don't have your objectives. You don't have anything sitting in front of you that is guiding you along the path that you're trying to travel down. Now think about it. Think about where you work. Does it seem like the people in charge know what's going on? Does it seem like they're leading you in the right direction? Does it seem like everything that they are doing and having you do, how is everything connected together? Does it seem like the work that you are doing is a part of a bigger plan, is a part of a bigger effort to get the organization you work for from where it's at right now to where it needs to be? And maybe that's focused on profits. Maybe that's focused on developing new customers or new clients. Or maybe that's focused on retaining the ones that you have. Or maybe there's something completely different that you do. Is it all tied together? Does it seem like you're going in the right direction? Well, if that's the case, if it seems like everything is moving along, chances are there's a well thought out plan that leadership and management is using to get you and that organization to where it's trying to go. I'll be the first to tell you, there are organizations out there that don't have a well-defined plan. They really don't. They're not sure where they're trying to go. They get a concept, they decide that they're going to run with the concept, and they're going to hope for success. That happens. That absolutely happens. And if you're working for an organization like that, man, I just hope they're successful. Otherwise, you're working for an organization that has potential for problems. And I'm not saying that organizations that have well-defined plans don't have problems. They do. But it's not the same kind of problems associated with a lack of understanding of where you're trying to get to. So at Lifestyles Unlimited, we have 7 elements that we believe are necessary for you to consider when you sit down and do your deliberate planning for where you want to get to with your real estate investing. And we don't just give you a cookie cutter plan, because every plan has to be tailored to the individual needs of the end user. Like, for instance, in my case, I came to Lifestyles Unlimited. I had owned some real estate. I had made some serious mistakes because I was treating my real estate business not as a business. I wasn't really giving it the time or the attention necessary to build up that business, to refine that business, to make that business grow. Because I thought real estate investing was kind of like, it's a secondary thing. You just kind of do it over here on the side. It'll take care of itself. And that's not true. That is absolutely not true. Real estate investing is a business. Whether you have one single family home or you own 10,000 units in various apartment communities across the nation, it's a business, and it needs to be treated that way. Going back to that Ben Franklin quote where he says, if you fail to plan, you're planning to fail. He's right, man, because I'll tell you, that's exactly what I was doing with my real estate business back in the day. And it wasn't until I became a member at Lifestyles Unlimited and became a member, and went through the education and did all the things that I was supposed to do, that it hit me square between the eyes, that the things that the military had taught me to do with deliberate planning, I was not replicating in my real estate business. And more so when I was told the 7 different elements that are important for you to consider when planning your future, I realized I didn't have all of the elements on track. I really didn't. I'm kind of telling you that I screwed up. I am. I am telling you I screwed up. But I fixed it. And that's the neat thing about real estate investing. It's actually a very forgiving business model. But in order to do it correctly, you need to obtain a qualified education. Now, you can go on the internet, you can search for all kinds of different organizations out there that, say they're going to teach you how to invest in real estate, and they're going to give you all these, things that you look at that, with a lot of acronyms and stuff like that make you think, wow, this is really great stuff. But you really need to do your homework. You need to take a look at the organization that you're going to choose to educate you. Make sure that they have a solid footing in the educational arena. Make sure they have a well-designed course of instruction that will help you achieve the results that you're trying to achieve. We have 50,000 members in our organization. We're an international company. We have members in multiple countries outside of the United States. We have members in all 50 states. And all of those members receive the same qualified education that is specifically designed to teach you how to do real estate investing correctly. And when I say investing correctly, that's exactly what we focus on. We show you what works. We tell you what doesn't work. And we insist that you follow the correct methodology. Is that sinking in? I know that's sinking in. So, the last segment I said I was going to talk about wealth and I was going to talk about fun. So let's talk about those 2 elements. Wealth is really a byproduct of doing things correctly, building a real estate investing business, one house at a time or one apartment community at a time, that's going to get you to a place of wealth. And you don't get there overnight. It takes time, but you can get there. And the thing about fun, you should have fun with everything you do in life. I'm a firm believer in that because I've been in situations that haven't always been fun. And that's not the way to live life. We come back from the break. I got more insider information for you. Stick around.
Welcome back to the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show. Now, let's get back to your map to financial freedom.
Welcome back to the show. Did you know your long-term success in life is directly linked to your ability to set and achieve the goals that you envision, not only for yourself and your family, but also for your business endeavors? It's true. It's absolutely true. You have to understand what your roadmap looks like. Because if you don't, you will veer off course and you will become hopelessly lost. And then you'll get to a point where you'll get frustrated because all you're trying to do now is course correct. You may not get to the goals that you want to achieve. Yeah, planning is very important. It's absolutely important. And I think what you need to do is you need to sit down and write these 7 words down. I'll just give them to you again. Spirituality, legacy, family, growth, health, wealth, and fun. And even if you're not interested in pursuing a real estate investing business, I think those 7 elements are critical for whatever you choose to pursue. I sincerely believe that. Because when you have those 7 things laid out in front of you, and you start setting goals and objectives tailored to meet the expectations that you set for each of those elements, you are setting yourself up for success. And I think that's very, very important. Let me throw another quote out at you. Lewis Carroll, the author, he said, if you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there. And I think he's exactly making my point. He's exactly saying that if you don't know where you're going, it doesn't matter. You're just wandering around hopelessly. And maybe you might get lucky. Maybe you might. So what are the things you ought to consider? Well, spirituality, that is up to you. That is part of your belief system. So whatever that means to you, try and articulate it. Try and figure out what that means to you. Same thing with your legacy. You know, I'll be honest with you. I never really thought much about my legacy before I became a member at Lifestyles Unlimited, because I was so focused on my military career. And then when that career ended and I wound up in the workforce, I really thought I was just going to be working until the age of 70, living off of whatever income I could achieve by working, and then maybe holding on till Social Security kicked in. And the more I followed that process, the more I realized that process stunk. That's not what Al wanted to do. So I had to really consider what's important to my legacy. Now, for me, it's not, having my name on buildings and stuff like that. I'm not interested in any of that stuff. But I am interested in combining the concepts of legacy and family together, because I absolutely believe that my family is my legacy. I spent a lot of my life focused on taking care of my family and giving them the things that I never had when I was younger. That's what was important to me. And then when I realized that my family was actually a component of my legacy, man, I'll tell you what, all the lights turned on in my brain. The other things that I had to take into consideration was my own individual growth. Yeah, I'm in my 50s. And I'll tell you what, I'm not done learning. I am not done learning. And I refuse to stagnate. And even as my body is breaking down, my brain is not. My mind is still there. And maybe one day that may not be the case, but for now it is. So I'm going to continue to grow as an individual, spiritually, financially. Yeah. You see how it's all tying together now? Health is something that can be difficult. It really can be. I mean, you think about it. How do you project what your health is going to be 20 years from now? It's really a difficult process. Now, if you know that there are potential, diseases that have occurred within your family and those diseases tend to transfer generation to generation, then okay, that's maybe something you need to think about in the future, that maybe that might impact you. Something you got to take into consideration. NFL football players, outside of Tom Brady, there aren't very many 40-year-olds playing football. And there's a reason for that. It's a biological reason that makes sense. So you have to take into consideration what you think your health will be in the future. And more so, how can you impact your current health? Maybe that means you join a gym for those of you that live in places where gyms are open for business. Maybe you do something along the lines of moving about. Maybe you walk 30 minutes a day. Maybe that's the exercise that you need. I'll tell you what, I was reading an article that said if you walk 30 minutes a day, that can help you step away from potential prediabetes. And if you have diabetes in your family, that's maybe something you need to think about. I'm not a doctor. I'm not giving you health advice. I'm just sharing with you information that was shared with me. And I think when you look at wealth, you have to look at it from the standpoint of what that wealth can do in relation to all of the other elements. How can that wealth impact you favorably with your spirituality, with your legacy, with your family, with your ability to grow? How can it impact your health? Things to think about. At the end of the day, I think fun needs to be a part of all of it, because there are certain situations in our life that aren't always fun. But what if you had the mindset to where you would enter into anything that you do with the concept of having fun? Imagine if you went into a situation thinking, well, this is going to be fun, even though you're maybe thinking it may not be that fun. I think it's fun. And I'll tell you what, when I walk in with that kind of positive mental attitude, it changes the experience. And I think it's important for you to factor in fun, because maybe fun to you is taking the kids or the grandkids for a weekend at Walt Disney World. I don't know. What does fun look like to you? Maybe it's going out on a cruise boat with your spouse. Maybe it's going out on a different boat with your buddies to, tackle big yellowtail tuna. I don't know. What does fun look like? But you really need to factor that into the equation. So I think when you take all 7 elements, the spirituality, the legacy, the family, the growth, the health, the wealth, and the fun, and you keep those elements in mind when you're thinking about planning your real estate business, I think it's going to help you a lot. I think it gives you the framework for you to set up that plan. But the key thing is this: no matter what plan you set, especially with regards to investing in real estate, you need to make sure that part of that plan involves getting a qualified education on how to do what it is you choose to do. Because without that qualified education, that could be a problem for you. It could be a huge problem for you. And if you want to get started with learning how to do real estate investing, check us out at Lifestyles Unlimited. Go to freeworkshoplivestream.com. That's freeworkshoplivestream.com. And remember, it's not the money, it's the lifestyle.
The Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show is for entertainment purposes only. Please consult a professional regarding your personal investment needs. Nothing presented on the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show constitutes an endorsement, recommendation, offer, or solicitation to buy or sell any product or security.